What makes ancient woodlands so incredible is just the variety of plants within this environment. It's not just about trees, it's about the ground flora, it's about the fungi network, it's about the canopy layer. And I feel that it's that richness that really kind of makes ancient woodlands so special and gives them their beauty and their characteristics.
So the Forgotten Forest campaign at its core is restoration of ancient woodland. After the Second World War, Britain was in need of timber, and this actually ended up in ancient woodlands being felled and planted for a timber crop. Right now we're at the time where a lot of this timber crop is ready for harvesting, and what we would like to see is the ancient woodland allowed to be regenerated, to be restored. Ancient woodland only covers 2.8% of our land in the UK. So yes, we do need timber crop, but not on ancient woodland.
When a plantation is planted on ancient woodland, it shades out all of the floral species that are underneath. It also shades out all the regeneration that you might get through. So what we're trying to do here at Penn is to reduce some of the softwood conifer trees that we have on site. Just reduce them down to about 15%. We're going through and thinning those through to create light areas for regen to come through, but also indicator species to come through as well. So we get a flush of growth. So we've got lots of bluebells at Penn, but then also wood anemones and those sort of things, which are a sure sign that the ground has been undisturbed for quite a long time.
What I find remarkable is just how quickly these plants and these native trees start to appear once you slowly remove the conifer plantation. And at Chelsea, what we really wanted to do is show those years and years of transformation in this one moment that visitors can experience. On one side, you have the conifer plantation, and you have this dark, dense atmosphere that you would naturally find there and what we've seen in Penn Wood. And then as you walk through the garden, you come to the site where it's starting to regenerate, and it has a lot more light, a lot more greenery, and a lot more biodiversity. So one of the main things we're doing for Chelsea is using hemlocks that were removed from here at Penn Wood as a part of the restoration process, and we're actually placing them in Chelsea so people know what to look out for, and they will form the part of the conifer plantation as you walk through the garden. So this is a Western hemlock sapling. So where we see these, what the Woodland Trust is doing is starting to remove them, and then suddenly you start getting these open spaces that's allowing the pioneer species to start growing and kind of burst back to life, which is what the story of the garden is all about.
So we're really excited to bring our Forgotten Forest campaign to RHS Chelsea. It's an opportunity to bring this urgent message for ancient woodlands to such a big stage, to show people that ancient woodlands are here and they're ready to flourish again. We're also hoping it will attract the attention of governments within the UK, and they can come along. Hopefully decision makers, policy makers will come along and see our garden and see the plight of ancient woodlands and help us and help landowners therefore to restore it. So we're asking for that rescue plan for our ancient woodlands. We're asking for protections as well, proper legal protections for ancient woodlands. We're also asking for visitors to Chelsea to also plant native trees within their garden, preferably UK grown, which is the most biosecure way of planting trees. After Chelsea, we want the message and the garden to live on, and to enable this, we're going to relocate the garden to Hawthorne School up in Newcastle. This school is already engaging the pupils with trees and with nature. They've got a Platinum Green Trees for School award within the Woodland Trust, but more importantly, they're actually in an area that needs more tree cover. On our tree equity score, they're scoring the area around the school as priority. This means that there isn't enough tree cover in that area and people don't have access to the benefits that trees bring. So we're keen to get more trees into that area, and one way of us doing that is taking our garden from Chelsea and relocating it to that school, adding to the tree equity of the area, but also adding to the children, growing their passion, their interest in trees and the outdoors.